Moving to Spain, Part 2, the early years. Okay, so this is Part 2 of my Moving to Spain audio podcast. In Part 1, I talked about sitting in my van on the way home from work and how that moment got me thinking seriously about moving to Spain. This is the second part of the story. We rented an apartment near the beach. Originally, it was meant to be for 3 months, but later we extended it for 6 months and then a few months more. In total, it was around 10 months because I had work and things were going pretty well here then. At first, I worked as a carpenter for Tony, and this was the guy up in the mountains that had a property here that I mentioned earlier in Part 1. He was very good to me and had a lot of work going on all over the Almería area. Back then, things were really booming here in Spain. In the end, there were about 10 guys working for Tony from all over the place. Most of them were just jobbers though, with no real skills. I worked for Tony for about another 2 years. During the last year with him, he made me the foreman, taking the guys to the job, setting them up for the work and paying their wages at the end of the week. I was more like a supervisor for them. I wanted to go on my own, so I left him and became self-employed. We left on very good terms and I never really saw Tony again after that. Work was a bit slow at first when I went self-employed, but after a few weeks I had plenty of work on, mostly for British people here. We had bought a small 2-bedroom apartment near where we'd been renting. Things were okay, but after 2 years it really wasn't big enough. I worked from a workshop I rented from another self-employed Brit here. He was a welder and made security grills for locals, which were very popular back then. After about 3 years, I took on 3 guys to work for me. At first, I had plenty of work for all of us, and things were pretty good. But after a few months, there were just too many little problems. They were more interested in going out in the evenings, drinking, than turned up late most mornings. One week, I planned a trip to the UK to visit my parents. It'd been a few years before I'd been back to the UK. After I left, I gave the lads instructions to finish the job that was almost done and give them some money up front. There was about 3 days' work to do. I paid them in full up front and told them if they finished early, they could go home and just relax and wait until I got back. When I returned from the UK, I got a call from the client saying that they'd been there the first day but he hadn't seen them since. I was fuming. I asked the guys why. They told me that one of the guys that drove them to and fro the job had some family stay over at the last minute and he wanted to be with them, so they all decided to stay at home. Even though they could have got to the job in other ways, it wasn't far away. You can imagine how I felt, especially after I'd have paid for them all and arranged the work. That week I got rid of all of them and decided to work on my own from then on. Life was going well, but then came the global crisis at that time. People stopped spending money and work slowly started to dry up. At the same time, my wife of 17 years and I were going for a bit of a difficult period. Nothing to do with the crisis. She wasn't happy in Spain, not as happy as I was. She missed her sister and her friends back in the UK. Her sister had recently had a baby as well. We had a few friends here, but that wasn't enough for her. She went back to the UK a few times to see her sister, but that still wasn't enough. We had just moved into a bigger house a few months before, with a large mortgage as well. And remember, this was during the crisis. Mortgage rates were very high back then, and my work was drying up fast. Plus, I was having trouble with my marriage. After a few months, we had several small arguments and slowly started to drift apart. One day we decided that she would go back to the UK for a few weeks to stay with her sister and see how she felt. I never wanted to go back. I was really happy here. I had friends, life and a work here. There was no way I was going back. Going back to that old way of life wasn't an option for me. I honestly felt that if I'd gone back, it would have killed me slowly inside. After a few weeks, I called her and she said she wanted to stay another month. We agreed as I was planning a trip to the UK a few weeks after that to my mum's birthday and we could meet up then. In total, she was staying in the UK with her sister for about 3 months or so. I went to Brighton for my mum's birthday. On the morning of my mum's birthday, I went to meet my wife at a local pub to invite her to my mum's party that evening. Thought it'd be a great time for us to get back together. I still wasn't sure what was going on, what would happen for us and what future we had. I was certainly sure I wasn't going to be moving back to the UK. The pub had a beer garden and I sat waiting for my wife there in the beer garden. When she arrived, the greeting felt very cold, bit distant, something was off. We talked for a couple of hours and it quickly became clear that she wasn't interested in coming back to Spain. In the end we decided we would go our separate ways for a few months more, her in the UK and me in Spain. I didn't tell her about all the troubles in Spain I was having. I did tell her that work was drying up a little bit though. As I was about to leave, I asked her if she had met anybody new. There was a long silence. I knew that something was coming. Or at least I thought I did. She said, "There is a guy I've been seeing." I said, "Okay. What's he like?" She said he's okay, it was nothing serious. But then my mind was made up. I said, half jokingly, "Let me know how it goes, and when you have kids, send me some pictures." I said it as a bit of a joke really. She'd always wanted kids, like her sister. There was another long silence. I asked, "What's wrong?" She said to me, with tears in her eyes, "I'm pregnant by him." I said, "Well, that's what you wanted." I asked her if she was happy. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Well," she said, "he's not you." I told her I hoped she'd be happy, and I said I needed to go as my mum was about to start her party. I walked away. I wasn't sure how I felt. Upset, hurt, angry, I wasn't sure really. Probably a little bit relieved. And that was it. The end of 17 years of marriage. We had been very happy most of that time, and we had some amazing years together. But for me, that was the end of it. There was no going back from there. In a strange way, I did feel relieved. I could start my new life in Spain now. But back in Spain, things weren't good. My parents were shocked and angry when I told them, more than I was. But I knew what I needed to do. The bank started putting pressure on me when I went back to Spain. I fell behind a bit with my payments, and even though I was working as much as I could, it was a real struggle to keep up with it. This went on for several months, and most of my money was gone. One day I sat on the floor in my workshop on my own and thought, I have to do something drastic. All sorts of things were going through my mind. Go back to the UK with nothing and start over again, or push myself on here, or move somewhere else. It was a really dark time for me, but I made a decision. I was staying no matter what. I joined a walking club and a mountain climbing club here that were both free. I went out almost every night, keep myself busy. I also started learning Spanish seriously with a private teacher using what little money I had. I only had a few lessons a week with him. One day, a friend from the walking club invited me to go to a salsa dancing club with her and a few friends. We were just friends, good friends, nothing more, but I felt completely out of my comfort zone. I had no experience and felt a bit stupid, but I pushed myself. I'm going to go and learn dancing. I started to enjoy the free classes, salsa dancing classes, which were on 2 nights a week. Then I found other dancing clubs and ended up going out every night of the week, either going to dancing clubs, salsa, or learning Spanish, or going climbing at the climbing club. One night at a salsa class, I saw this beautiful woman walk in with a guy. They were both very tall, I always remember that, and she was a stunning, tall, slim blonde with a dancer's body. During the classes, I danced with her, and for me, it was love at first sight. But she was with him, this guy. Who was he? About a week later, at another salsa club, I was at the bar getting a drink, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder. It was her. This time she was with her friend, no guy. She had heard me speak a few words of English to the barman, who I'd known for the last few months, and he wanted to practice his English with me. She asked me if I was Romanian, as I was pretty tanned at the time from working outside. No, I said, I'm English. With that, she moved closer, pulled up a bar stool and said, I need to practice my English. She spoke almost no English, and what she did speak was very bad, and I spoke very little Spanish. Conversation was difficult, to say the least. She told me she needed English for her job, which was a government office work in the city. I got her number at the end of the evening and called her every day for 5 days running, asking her out. Our conversation was short and awkward, and at the end of the week I invited her for a coffee at the beach, and she said yes. We met on the beach that afternoon, both carrying dictionaries. It was hard work having a conversation, looking up almost every word we wanted to say. After about an hour of this, we went to a cafe for a drink and a cake and carried on talking. That evening there was a local fiesta near my village, about 15 minutes away from where she lived. I invited her. There was salsa dancing. She said she would come. She turned up with her best friend. We danced most of the night, and I think they were both surprised I could salsa dance. Not too good at that time, but at least I was dancing salsa, and a bit of merengue and a few other local dances as well. The classes had finally paid off. Part 3 of this story can be had in the link below.